Hey everybody, Greg again with my friend Cheri and my other friend Lyndon, and we're from Life Plan. We're just grateful again you've joined us today. We want to talk today about something that kind of goes beyond just the abortion topic, and that is the many different connection points that relate to abortion. Because again, I said I think a few videos ago that abortion is really a symptom of bigger things that are going on beneath the surface. So we're going to start out with Lyndon, and Lyndon wants to help. He's going to help us understand some of the driving forces that are connected to the abortion issue.
Yes. I don't know if you guys have been to some of our banquets. We had a speaker once about 3 years ago. Her name is Dr. Donna Harrison. She's the CEO of the pro-life gynecologist medical group in the United States. She speaks to Washington, D.C. She gave us an article that was really very revealing. She made the connection between abortion, pornography, and sex trafficking. And in this article, she outlines how sex traffickers use their clients, their victims, to groom them by using pornography. So this is the act that you're supposed to do with the potential clients that will have. So sex traffickers do this, and they use pornography. And so you can imagine how impactful that is, how degrading that is. And then also sex traffickers, when their product are these victims, and then once they have, they get pregnant, well, that just destroys their service. So what they do is get an abortion very quickly. And so those are three things. And also, I don't know if you know, but pornography today is incredibly all over the place. It's the real tsunami, it's the real epidemic in our culture. Just one pornographic site in 3 years ago, the equivalent viewing of that site for 1 year, it was equivalent to 524,000 years. So just one pornography site, and there are 42 million of them and growing. And so pornography is all over our culture. I use the analogy of we're smelling it. We're like the frog in the kettle. We're being boiled by it. It's like the air we breathe. Mm-hmm. And so this is driving the abortion in our country, unplanned pregnancy. And I call it sexual immorality. The Bible speaks all over the Bible about it. God's people were called out against pornography, to be out of the world. And sexual immorality, the idea in the original language is the selling out of one's body, or selling out, the surrender of one's purity. And it applies to fornication, it applies to adultery, or any kind of sexual deviation from the biblical standard of marriage between one woman and one man. Any and all outside of that. And so I believe this is the root behind all the sexual deviations in our culture today. And one of it is just the impact of it is abortion. That's why we have it.
Yeah, it's exactly what you just said, that abortion is a symptom of a bigger problem. And really, the problem is sexual immorality, but if you go even deeper than that, the problem is sin. And the solution is the gospel.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So, I know you guys want to talk about that. Go right in, go for it, guys.
Yeah, Lyndon, why don't you lead out? Lyndon is he's our gospel leader man. So I don't want to steal any thunder from him, so I'm going to let him go first. I'll come in and support him.
Yes. The reason why men fall into this sexual immorality and pornography is, if you want to look at it from a spiritual component, it is because they're looking to other things to satisfy them. It's Romans 1 from the core of our being. It's exactly what sin is. Substituting what God should be, honor and thankful and tribute to Him. Instead of that, we exchange that for created things. And we try to find satisfaction in those created things. And obviously, nothing satisfies. If you want to look at it from a psychological point of view, men look to things to satisfy them. When they feel the pressures of life, they go to whatever it is, video games, they go to pornography, and they go to different addictions instead of God. And we have to help men understand when they do that spiritually, when they do that psychologically. After that, Greg,
Well, yeah, and just speaking the gospel into this, when we encounter people who are broken, that is where the gospel of Jesus Christ speaks immediately and effectively and powerfully into that, because the gospel is, I think of the gospel as just simply the power of transformation. If you think about what we center the gospel around Jesus Christ, his life, death, and resurrection, and that's certainly absolutely true. But think about what happened. Jesus dies on a cross. 3 days later, he is raised to new life. What just happened? Complete and total and utter transformation. And when we, as Galatians 2:20 says, when we have been crucified with Christ and we no longer live, but we live this life through the life of Jesus Christ, we enter that death, but on the other end, we get what's on our shirts. We get life. We get a life that begins in this life and then goes on. But for us that have experienced either betrayal or trauma, we've been caught up in some addiction, we've been associated somehow, directly, indirectly, with an abortion. We want to communicate in just so clear terms that God is about transforming lives, and he does that through the gospel of Jesus Christ. So if you think about it in a macro way about the Bible, what happened in the garden, God set right through Jesus Christ, and that transformation continues until Jesus comes back. So we want everyone to experience the power of the gospel to transform our lives from the inside out.
Absolutely. And that's really what drives Life Plan.
Yeah.
That is what is at the focus of everything that we do. And I think that as we think about practical ways or how to make this video practical, it's our posture. It's how we approach the topic. It's how we go in there understanding that we also are sinners saved by grace. And, we are just going to love the people that are struggling with sexual immorality, or the people who are struggling with a past abortion, or who are considering abortion now. We're going to love them, and we're going to introduce them to Jesus. That's what we want to do.
We also are building programs, and we have a men's ministry now. So if you have men in your churches, or you're struggling with pornography, feel free to call us. We will walk alongside you, and we will point you to the gospel hope. Okay, and I just want to end with some scripture, but I'm going to approach it in a different way. What are we doing to flee away from sexual immorality? What is that? We can think of various ways. Like you're gonna think about your wife, your family, your how it will damage you. But it's interesting. There's a verse in 1 John chapter 3, verse 2 and 3. Okay, and John uses here how the second coming can also help you with sexual immorality. Listen to this. He says in 1 John 3, verses 2 and 3, he says, "Dear friends, now we are children of God." Take note, our identity, children of God. We who claim to be Christian. So it goes on. "And what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, second coming, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." Now verse 3, listen to this. "All who have this hope of the second coming, this hope," it says, "this hope in him," what do? Purifies themselves. Purifies them just as he is pure. In other words, we believe that Christ is coming anytime. We believe that there will be a great reward with that coming. We believe that we will be like him as he is. We will see him and we will be like him. We will be completely pure. With all that truth, what do we do today? We purify ourselves. And that's an encouragement for us who believe in the second coming, who believe that Christ is come to rescue his people, to come and bring him back, to be with him. We will make ourselves pure today. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.